Loretta is the tale of a middle-aged woman in the 1940s that becomes fed up with her less than stellar husband, a writer named Walter, who always reeks of onions, and she doesn't cook with onions. After being relocated to a farm in the middle of nowhere, cut off from family and funds, and learning of her husband's infidelity, Loretta decides to take matters into her own hands and, let's just say, achieve some financial independence, with a little bit of violence and just a twinge of blackmail. Well, I won't spoil too much, but let's just say that things only get deeper and darker from there. Before beginning your descent into debauchery, you'll be able to choose from Loretta's normal and noir modes, with the former being recommended for a first-time playthrough, and the latter as more of a challenge with less visual cues and some black and white pizzazz. Regardless of which mode you choose, the majority of gameplay in Loretta is point and clicky in nature, as you are often guiding Loretta through her home and other locales and selecting objects to observe and interact with. At times you have an inventory, but it is mostly useless as you automatically use the right item when interacting with the right person or prompt. At other times during gameplay, you'll find yourself in the head of another character, hearing their thoughts and taking their actions, which keeps things pretty interesting. You'll also get branching dialogue that will determine how the game plays out. If you make a less savory decision, you may find yourself back at the beginning of a particular scene with a do-over of sorts. Between scenes, you'll also get high contrast mini-games and puzzles that will have you piecing together torn photos or taking a Rorschach test. Gameplay is never difficult or frustrating, with my only frustrations coming from the game crashing mid-adventure on my laptop a few times and having to repeat a couple of scenes. I did test the game on Steam Deck as well, and it ran flawlessly, so I won't hold these crashes against the game, but I will shake my fist at my laptop and give it a little stink eye. I will also say that the end comes quickly for Loretta, not really longer than a movie, and to me it doesn't really tie up some of the loose ends it creates and that I was hoping it would. I loved the setup and enjoyed my playtime a great deal, even going in for a second round of noir mode, but I wanted just a little bit more out of the story. Satisfying ending or not, the game just oozes charm, especially if you're a fan of the dark and peculiar, and it's worth a playthrough for the style points alone. There is a good balance of psychological thriller and storytelling in Loretta, but for me the biggest strength is the visuals. The game really leans into that film noir and classic thriller influence, and it shines most clearly through the art. Graphics in Loretta are a combination of highly stylized pixels and dramatic cutscenes spliced together with high contrast puzzles and minigames. It's an odd assortment of art that somehow works really well together to create a sense of uneasiness and paranoia. We can feel Loretta's descent into madness in the way she perceives the world, and the visuals reflect this shift. From afar, the characters are shown as faceless silhouettes, but there are moments where their full portraits are shown in detail, which really helps fuel the imagination throughout. Unrelated to anything, but clearly important to point out, the police officer Bill looks like Hopper from Stranger Things, and you can't convince me otherwise. Further playing into the madness is the stark and interesting use of audio to set the tone. Music is often quiet and appropriate for the time period, at least from my understanding of the time period, but many of the game's more startling moments occur in the form of sudden jumps in audio or unexpected uneasy sounds. These startling moments aren't just meant for the player, but for the character as well. You'll see Loretta become startled by clanking pipes or an unexpected phone call, just as much as it startles the player controlling her movements, which is a really clever device for the developers to immerse the player that much further. There's no voice acting, but even the color and style of text can help you determine the tone of the characters' voices, which I thought was really unique and helpful as well. Between the dark decisions you'll need to make and the title character's mind quickly dissolving into chaos as the game progresses, Loretta is a short but disturbingly sweet experience. I may be hungry for a few more answers out of the game's story, but I would play another game like this in a heartbeat. And speaking of hungry, does it smell like almonds in here?